Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my mid-month wrap-up. It is already August 15th. I don't know how it's already August 15th. It is my last official day of summer. I go back to work tomorrow. It is a teacher work day. We have 3 days of teacher work days. Then the freshmen come in, and then everybody's there on Friday. So back to reality for me, but I read 21 books in the past 15 days. A lot of them were audiobooks, and some of them were novellas. I was just trying to live my best life my last 2 weeks of August, so I have a lot to get to, so I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about everything that I read. Okay, so the first one, I feel like these were so long ago when I read these, but the first one was Forbidden by Carla Sorensen. This one I loved so much. I listened to the audiobook. It is a younger woman, older-ish man. I feel like he's like 10 years older than her, and maybe not even. She's in her mid-20s, he's in his 30s, he's a single dad. He lost his wife, and he used to be a fighter, and she works at the gym, and he is now the new owner of the gym, and it is their romance, and it is so cute. She has a big family, so I didn't know this was a spin-off of a different series where the brother has a book, and then he helped raise his 4 sisters, and this is a series of the 4 sisters. I read book 1 and book 4 because books 2 and 3 are like they're in college, and there's a trope I don't like, so I skipped those, but I was obsessed with this romance. He is definitely brooding. She has had a crush on him though since she was young because she followed his fighting career and had like posters of him in her room, and I love that trope where it's like they kind of had a crush on them as like a celebrity and now they're meeting them in real like life in the future, and I love it so much. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. So adorable, and I just love this series, so I'm excited to go to the other series that this is a spin-off of and read it because I need more from this author. Then I finally read Kate by Tate James, which is book 4 in the series, and it's the last book in the series. I gave this one 2 stars. I was so disappointed with how the series ended. First of all, it didn't need to be all 4 books. It definitely could have been cut down. 60% of this book was not necessary whatsoever. We just had her having fun with her guys. It is reverse harem, and that's all 60% of it was. And we finally got answers to things that have been dragged out for 4 books, and it was over in 2 seconds. Like, instead of spending that 60% on her relationship that's already been established, and we're like, okay, fine, we know you like them, spend it on this mystery you've been building up. There's this random character I didn't even know like existed that apparently was important, and I'm just like, where is this background? I feel like I missed so much and I didn't get the answers I wanted, and I was just very disappointed. So 2 stars. Not a great ending to the series. I'm glad I read it. It was fun for what it was, but I definitely preferred books 1 and 2 over 3 and 4. Then one day I went into my classroom and listened to the entirety of Crashed Out by Tessa Bailey on my drive there working and then drive home because I was just like putting displays up and like reorganizing so I could listen. This one was okay. It was just very short and not really well fleshed out. It is a rock star romance, and she used to like babysit him, and she's best friends with his sister, and so it is an age gap with an older woman, but there was just, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of actual like development in here. I didn't really believe the romance, why he was like so obsessed with her, and she did decisions that really were like making it for him. Like, she knew what was best, so she decided to make the decision, and that was like a conflict in the end, and I really didn't enjoy that. So I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. It was just okay, but I don't remember like the publisher of this, but like I feel like they're just like quick short novellas, and it was like a 5-hour audiobook, 6-hour audiobook, so it was really short, but I didn't really get everything I wanted out of it. The tropes sounded amazing, and it was just okay, but I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend picking it up. Then I read Sunshine and the Bullets for the reading vlog I did where I read my subscribers' recommendations, and this one's a reverse harem, and she had a past with them where nothing really happened with all the guys, but she was really close with them, and then something happened that made her run away and be terrified of her being caught by them, and now we're like 5 years later and they catch up to her finally, and she reunites with them. I enjoyed it, but I feel like it was too much of a setup for a series and not actually like good enough to stand alone as a book itself. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars, though I did find out my library has the audiobooks, so I might continue on with the series because the guys are all really different, and one of them's a fighter. We always have that in these books. We have an agent, we have a like mob boss, and one other guy, I think, and I feel like they weren't all fleshed out enough for me. I feel like I didn't really get to know all of them, but we also, I didn't know like what the point was. Like, they caught her and then she just like hangs out with them, and I'm like, okay, but like what is the end game here? Like, what are you trying to do? What are you doing with them? Are you gonna go back and live in this town? Like, I don't know like what the whole point was. And then it waited until the very end to figure out why she left town and the reasoning she left town. I'm just like, why didn't you just tell them before freaking out and leaving. I don't know, but I'm interested to see where the story goes. So I might continue the series, but I just have an issue with series where they drag things out and they don't need to be dragged out. Like, I need to be entertained and get answers in every book, and I can't be bored and dragged along in a series. So I'm very picky about my series, but maybe I'll give this second one a shot. Then I read The Roommate Risk by Talia Hibbert. I listened to this one on audio. I'm pretty sure she recently redid the covers, and that's why it got back on my radar. And this one is a roommate romance. They've been best friends for a long time, since college. We get some flashbacks to college. They actually hooked up in college, and she doesn't do relationships, and he really, really likes her. So he was like, you know what, it's fine. We had our one night stand, but I still want you in my life, so I'll just be your friend. And they've been like best friends since. Her apartment gets completely flooded, and so she moves in with him, and it's their romance. And this one was quite frustrating. I do love when the hero's the one who really likes the heroine first in a friends to lovers romance, but she was a piece of work, and she definitely pushed him away and didn't communicate, and I didn't love how drawn out this one is. I do feel like it went on a little too long, and I was kind of losing interest in the book, and I remember being frustrated on her, and now I don't even remember what she did that made me frustrated. It is a roommate romance. If you like roommate romance, friends to lovers, I think you'd enjoy this, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I wasn't like in love with the story or having to read it, and like I said, it kind of went on a little too long and was drawn out, so I lost interest by the end. Then I feel like I have like a lot of bad books in a row. I read The Savage and the Swan by Ella Fields. I gave this one 2 stars. Wow, was this really a letdown, and I'm surprised because it has such good ratings on Goodreads. It's a fantasy romance, and from the beginning I wasn't really intrigued by the story. She's a swan, and she can like fly, and she's like married off to like a human guy, or she's like supposed to, and like too much is happening in this book because she's supposed to go to this like human kingdom, but then there's this guy from this other rival kingdom that comes into the play, and I fully still don't understand their powers and like what he could do, what she could do. She could like weave gold, but that was only used for like 2 seconds in the book, and then it was just never talked about again. And I feel like the author was just trying to do way too much, and then he also was a really bad guy that did something to someone she was loved, and like it was fine. She didn't really care by the end. And I was just very confused with the world building, very not interested in anything about this book, so I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Halfway through, I was like, if I wasn't reading this for a reading vlog, I would have DNF'd it, because the author just did not write a fantasy romance really that well. And I just didn't really love the romance either, so it wasn't good. Then I read The Duke Buys a Bride by Sophie Jordan. This one's a really fun historical romance where it's a traveling historical romance. So our heroine's father died, and basically she's like given to her father's best friend as kind of a wife, but like only in name. So she like takes care of the house and like the kids, and then finally he's like ready to be done with her, so he's gonna sell her off to the highest bidder. And our hero is the Duke, who was the Duke in the first book, and then his stepmother gets the second book, and so it's now his book in the third book, and he sees it happening, and he's like, well, this is nuts. So he buys her as like a favor, or like because it's the right thing to do, because he's like, why are you selling someone? And he doesn't realize he's like literally buying a wife, and he like signs off on it and is pretty much married to her on paper, and he doesn't want to marry her though, and she's just this like common person, and he's a duke, and so he ends up taking her to his estate in Scotland to be his maid, and like on their way there, the book is pretty much their whole trip, and they end up falling for each other, and it's so cute. I really enjoy this one. Sophie Jordan's romances are just so fast, fun, and easy to read, and so I liked how it was traveling. They get into a little shenanigans with some characters, and I'm pretty sure they meet the guy who's in book 4, the Scottish guy, because I read book 4 like way before reading the rest of these books, and so I think that was him, and I really like how those are tied together and really push them to think about how they felt about each other and acknowledge their feelings for each other. This was just really cute. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Flowers from the Storm by Laura Kinsale. This one is a really interesting historical romance. I read it for the Historical Hellions book club I run with Samantha from Books with Samantha, and he actually suffers a stroke in the beginning of the book, and they don't know what that is during that time period, and so he loses a lot of brain function and can't really communicate well, and so he's put in an insane asylum. And so the beginning of the book is really hard to read because our heroine knew him beforehand. Her father was helping him with like math stuff, and now she's working in the asylum to help him to see if he has any cognitive abilities, and it's just very heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to read about insane asylums back in that time period when they were awful conditions, didn't understand people, didn't help them, and she starts working with him, and you can really see his progress of his cognitive ability the more he spends time with her and talks to her, and they work together on it. And I really loved getting both his and her perspective on it. It does read more historical fiction-y than romance. There's a really strong romance in here, but because of that serious nature behind his disability, and then there's all this money plot happening with his estate that's going on. A lot of it focuses on other things, and so it was hard to get through. I also waited till the last minute to read it and had to read 540 pages in 2 days of this book, and it was a lot. Most of it was in one day, and so I gave it 3.5 stars. I did really enjoy it. I really enjoyed their romance. I loved seeing his character really develop and grow. There was a plot point in here though that I didn't love his reaction towards near the end, but I'm really glad I read it. It's a classic historical. Probably rounded it up to 4 on Goodreads, I think. So I'm glad we picked it, and I'm glad I read it. Then I picked up the audiobook of 7 Wishes by Serena Ackroyd. My Hoopla has some really great indie romances, so I always check different authors, and I found this one. And this one is the first book, and I think it's gonna be a reverse harem, but it wasn't in this first book. And our heroine grows up in a cult, and she has these weird like abilities that she doesn't know what to do with and what they are. And she's finally like discovered by someone from this institute that's like, you are the special person who has 7 souls inside of you, and when you come to a certain age, you're like, one soul is dominant and you pick that one. And so she's taken to this school for kids like her, and of course every guy is just like madly head over heels in love with her, and we get a lot of their perspectives, but she's only with one of them so far, and it's like a fated mate situation, so I don't know how it's gonna be a reverse harem. It was just okay. I feel like the beginning was really fun and engaging. I liked seeing her in this cult and then moving out, but I feel like the author too much relied on slang in order to show that she grew up in a cult and didn't understand things, to the point where the characters did not sound realistic because they would use slang so heavily to make a point that she didn't fit in, that I was like, this is not how normal teenagers talk, and I feel like it's gonna get dated very quickly, and I just didn't fully care by the end of the story. I feel like not enough was happening by the end, so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I don't even know if I want to continue on. I probably won't. I wasn't interested enough to continue on with the series, but it was definitely an interesting premise. Then I read Forbidden Fling by Kat Taylor. This is the novella written by Katie Robert. It is short, it is fun, there's cheating, there's no HEA. She decides to hook up with her boyfriend's dad because her boyfriend was supposed to go on vacation with her and invited his dad and friends along, and it was supposed to be like a couple's trip. And it was what it was. I don't even remember what I gave it. I don't even know if I should rate this because it's just quick fun, not really a whole lot of plot, and it's just to pass the time. So I'm glad I read it. I love Katie Robert. It's really fun. If you like that trope, go ahead and pick it up. Then I read More Than Enough, and this one is by Mel Dow, and I saw this I think like on Instagram or something, but wow, was this not what I thought it was gonna be. The pacing of this was odd. So like it was marketed as like she is supposed to get this great scholarship for sports for college, and she meets him in college, and like she had tutored him, and like that's why they fall in love. But it starts out with her being sexually assaulted at a party and her sister doing something to that person and then like going on the run, and then her going to college. And it was weird because we also got her sister's perspective, which I don't think we needed because it was supposed to be her story, and she's definitely traumatized over the sexual assault that happened. And then there was just like this bizarre plot twist thrown in that I was like, what is happening with this book? And so this was not something that I enjoyed reading because, like I said, also the pacing was odd because like weeks would go by where we needed that fleshed out, and they're like, oh, and then in 6 weeks we were madly in love, and I'm like, I didn't even see you fall in love. And so I wasn't a fan of the pacing of this. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Definitely a miss for me. It was short and quick to get through, but I wasn't the biggest fan. Then I read Keep It Together, Keiko Carter. This one I read because of Lisa from Remarkably Lisa. The audiobook pronounced it Keiko, so I think that's how you pronounce the character's name. This one is a middle grade, so I'm not rating it. I really read it just because it's a book in my classroom and I want to read more. I've been in the oh crap, school starting soon, and I haven't read YA all summer, so I have to read some more, or middle grade. This is cute. Keiko has 2 best friends. They're going into like 7th or 8th grade, and her friends aren't getting along, and so she kind of has to be like the middle person, and they want to get boyfriends for the dance and like join clubs, and she's like dealing with boys and her friends, and it's super cute. I'm glad I read it. Definitely recommend as something that's definitely relatable to middle schoolers. Then I listened to the audiobook of Instructions for Dancing by Nicole Yoon. I just love this cover so much. This one was actually a pretty short audiobook, and our heroine gets the power to be able to see the entire like fleshed out journey of a relationship just by seeing people kiss. She sees how they meet, fall in love, and then break up. And her parents have gotten into a divorce, and so she is already very pessimistic about love. And now that she has this power, she's like, love sucks and I just never want it. And it's kind of ruining some of her friendships because she sees some friends' relationships starting and ending and her sisters, and she ends up trying to figure out why she got this power, and it leads her to this dance studio, and she ends up dancing in this competition with this guy, kind of falling for him, but she's so jaded about love. She's like, I can't fall in love, and it was a lot of fun and sad, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely an emotional romance, and something that I think a lot of teenagers can relate to, especially if they have people in their lives whose romances didn't work out, like divorced parents, and I enjoyed it. It's really unique too because our heroine had this really cool power of being able to see the relationships and how they end. So I enjoy this one and I'm really glad I picked it up. Then I read The One That Got Away by Karina Halley. I listened to this on audio. I love The Forbidden Man so much, and this was one of the, I think it was Luciano, one of the soccer players on the team. Second chance romance. The first half of this I loved. She moves to like Madrid or something to be a sports journalist. It wasn't Madrid. I don't remember where she moved. Somewhere in Europe she moves, and she wants to be a serious sports journalist, and she figures out that there's a soccer player who's injured she might get an interview with, so she does, and that's our main character, Luciano, and his brother is his agent, and his brother like likes her, and so she starts dating his brother, but he really likes her, so it's kind of a love triangle, and she's still trying to like make her way in the sports journalist world. But then we have drama ensues, we skip years, more drama ensues, then we skip more years, and so it's something that takes place over like 8 years, and I really didn't like that we had to wait 8 years to get this end of this relationship. So it's literally a second chance romance, and we get the beginning in the second chance of it, and I don't love that necessarily. I would have just liked them to have been together at the end of when they were together in the beginning, like that first half with all that angst and like the love triangle between the brothers and how she's poor and they're super wealthy and like their parents don't approve of her, and I just loved it so much. But then I really didn't care about the second half, and I feel like it just did not live up to the first half of the book, and I didn't like how drawn out it was. I didn't really care for their romance anymore. She definitely did something that could have been avoided if they just talked to each other and figured it out together, and instead she chose something, and that caused this whole long big gap. So I dropped it down to 3 stars, not my favorite, and I was really disappointed. Then I read The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloan. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So good. Probably one of my favorites of the year. Oh my gosh. So Erica catches her husband cheating on her, so they get a divorce. They've been married for like 20 years. She has the house. She's sunbathing at the pool, and the pool boy ends up walking in, and she has no idea he's there. And he is 24 and the son of one of her friends, and they start a fling, and it kind of turns into more. And Troy is just so smitten with her, and I loved it. I love it when the hero just doesn't care what people say, doesn't care about anything, just that I like you and I want to be with you. And that's how Troy was. I loved him so much. And there was also a really fun work aspect with her and him that I don't want to spoil because I didn't know going in, and I really love that aspect as well. It has to do with her work and his potential career, and I really enjoyed that in here, so definitely recommend picking this up. I cannot wait to read more in the series. It's book 2. I just read it as a standalone. I haven't read books 1 and 3, which I was fine, but I'm definitely going to go back and read the other 2. Then I read Deke by Eden Finley, another 5 out of 5 star romance. This one's MM. He is a hockey player, and it starts out with him in the bathroom. His parents are really accepting that he's gay, but he is not openly gay because of sports. He doesn't want people to know. Nobody's in the NHL is out yet, and so his parents though really are pressuring him to come out because they're so accepting, and he hates that pressure. So he's in the bathroom at a family dinner and sees a guy, and his brother walks in, and it ends up like turning into he's fake dating this guy now, but his family thinks it's real. And so then they get off his back about coming out because they think he's just happy with this relationship and nothing really needs to change with his work life. And so then we fast forward like 6 months, and this guy that he's fake dating is actually a sports journalist and moves from baseball to hockey and starts writing about him, and they reconnect. It is so good. I loved our hockey players' parents, and I love all the side characters in here. I loved their romance so much and how they were really into each other but didn't want to be, especially because the journalist kind of made some comments in some of his articles about the hockey player that the hockey player didn't love, because they were like showing him things he didn't want to admit about himself and his game playing, and it was just adorable. I love the hockey aspect. I loved all the characters so much. I love this book. Like I said, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I actually did a fake dating recommendation video because of it, which you guys should check out, which is I'll link somewhere. Then I read The Taking of Jake Livingston. This one I listened to a book on audio, and I need to make sure I look into my books before reading them, because as a teacher, I don't love reading books that heavily revolve around school shootings. This one did. Our hero in this can see ghosts. And side point, this horror paranormal was really hard to understand the paranormal aspects. He can see ghosts, he can be possessed by ghosts, but he can also like go to other dimensions and like see things that have happened, not dimensions, but like see things that have happened in the past. And I was just very confused about the whole paranormal aspect of this book. So that already kind of made me not really enjoy this, because I was like, how the heck is he be able to do this? And then he's being haunted by the ghost of a boy who had done a school shooting in their community, and that's so hard for me to read about, so it was really hard for me to enjoy reading about that in this book, and I just didn't love really anything about it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I just thought it was okay. Like I said, the paranormal aspect was really confusing. There is like a little bit of romance in here, but I feel like it was just added in as an afterthought because it happens in the last like 5 pages of the books, and that's it. Like, we're introduced to the love interest, and then nothing happens, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now that all the conflict's over, here's this 5 pages of this cute romance, like he's met someone he likes, and I'm just like, okay, I wish that was woven in more throughout the story, and it was hard reading about the ghost who was a school shooter, about like why he did it, because then we get his journal and everything and why he's haunting them again, and this wasn't for me, so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read This Love Hurts by Willow Winters, and I feel like I missed something, because this one I was really excited for. It is a lawyer and her romance with a FBI agent and a serial killer, and like it's a love triangle, but I think this is a spin-off, what I read in reviews, because I like felt like I was missing something. Like I was dropped in a story and I'm supposed to have been already connected to these characters, and I'm not. We get her like kind of starting her relationship with this FBI agent, and then we skip some time, and then we have this serial killer show up, and apparently the serial killer and FBI agent have a past, and I have no idea what it was. No idea still. And I feel like I should have liked the serial killer, but he's like this stranger that just showed up, and it's just like, am I supposed to like him? I don't even know who he is. I just feel like nothing about these characters made sense, and I think it's because they were in the previous series, and you're supposed to read this after that series. So since it's marketed as a standalone, I'm very disappointed about that, like a standalone series. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Like, I didn't understand anything really happening in this book. Then this is going to be very controversial, because I wish I could wait until my vlog's coming out, but I have to put this up before that. I read Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and I'm giving it 3 stars. I feel like I'm the only person to not like this book. So this is the older brother's best friend. He's this like brooding, kind of like maybe mob person, and he has to move in next door to watch over her while her brother's like out of town. And I feel like the pacing and writing of this book just did not gel with me. We skipped over a lot of relationship development, and all of a sudden they were just like in love, and I was just like, where did this happen? Like, we get a lot of told, like she's like, oh, and we always just stay up all night talking, and like we're really into each other now, and I'm like, I miss that. And I feel like there was some like very cliche villain stuff in here that just was plopped in really quickly and then wrapped up really quickly, and I'm like, where did that come from? And I didn't love that, so I just didn't. And then the ending really bothered me, like how much he waited and how much she made him wait. I was like, are we really doing this? So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't love it. I just didn't really love anything I was reading. I mean, I see why people love him, but I feel like he's too perfect too. Like, and he can sing. Like, where did all this come from? It just felt like it was like all these plot points of a good romance kind of shoved together and not executed well for me. So 3 out of 5 stars. Sorry. Then I listened to the audiobook of Catch Me If You Can by Christina C. Jones, and this one is a spy romance. Our heroine is a thief, and our hero works for the police, and they have to work together on a certain job, and they have to fake date. And I thought this was really fun. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. There are some aspects that I'm just a little confused about regarding like secrets, and like they're getting mad that they're hiding these secrets, and like people are working for certain people and don't tell each other about it. So it's like a lot, and you really have to pay attention. But I really did love the fake dating, how they had to go on vacation together when they really didn't like each other because there was a misunderstanding in the beginning. The beginning's fabulous. I just really enjoyed this. If you like a good spy romance, pick up this book. And there's 2 more books I think in the series, and I'm excited to get to them. The last book I read was actually one that I listened to the entirety of in one day because I went on a little bit of a road trip, like an hour-long road trip, but I got through a lot of this and I had a lot to do yesterday. So I listened to Beyond the Roses by Monica James. This one is not my usual for Monica James. I love her dark romances, but this one is a very serious romance. She has a tumor and she loses her best friend to the same kind of tumor, and so she pretty much gives up all hope of any kind of like trial or medicine making her better to be able to be operated on. And so she gets a job at this camp and meets the doctor there and kind of falls for the doctor. This one I'm giving 4 out of 5 stars, but more on the low 4 side because it's really emotional and I feel like it was long but not a lot happened, and it's more so like they lose people and then they have to deal with her if she's gonna get better, if she's gonna try to get better or not, if it's worth living anymore. And so it's very serious, not your typical romance, and by definition it's not really a romance. I can't tell you why, but I can tell you that. So not my favorite for Monica James. I think I'm gonna stick more to her dark romances because this one was just a lot more serious and not something that I usually gravitate towards. So I'm glad I read it though. I'm trying to make my way through a backlist and I do love this cover. And that is my mid-month wrap up. Let me know down below what you guys read this month so far, or if you've read any of these. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.